of men are obtained through touch. And so again, the hijab literally is part of that protecting the inherent nature of a woman. And so it's all, the wisdom of the Sharia will be confirmed again and again. سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ. Allah will show them all these signs until it becomes clear. And then يَحْفَظُ فَرْجُهُ يَتَقِي شَهِيدٌ فِي الْبَطْشِ وَالسَّعِرِ مَمْنُوعٍ يُرِيدٌ. And he should fear the witness of the angels in his limbs, his 2 hands and his 2 feet. فِي الْبَطْشِ وَالسَّعِي. So there he's completed the seven things that we have to guard the heart with. And this is the eye, the ear, the tongue, the button, the farj, the hands, and the feet. And this is the way we destroy our hearts. And if we guard ourselves and become responsible, because these poor things are going to bear witness against us on Yawm al-Qiyamah. These hands will bear witness against us on Yawm al-Qiyamah and say, he made me do this. We are in charge. The aql is in charge here. The hands are not in charge. If I want to drink a cup, my hand did not do an autonomous action there. It didn't rebel against me. You see, no, I commanded my hand to go and pick up the glass, and now I'm telling it to put it down. You see, stop that. Doesn't work like that. Unless you have Parkinson's disease or something like that, where it's beyond human control, and then people shake and things like that. But that's not what we're talking about. If you've got those problems, then you can't do anything wrong. Right? Somebody paralyzed, that's it. And that's why the Sheikh Zani is the worst type creature. You know, the ones that are old and decrepit and, you know, they're still doing these haram things. It's something despicable. So those then, that's the first. We're dealing with 4 things here of how to purify the heart and achieve taqwa. That's the first one, and I'll go briefly through the next 3. وَيُوقِفِ الْأُمُورَ حَتَّى يَعْلَمَ مَا اللَّهُ فِيهِنَّ بِهِ قَدْ حَكَمَ. That he should not do anything without knowing the hukum of Allah, and this is something that we're very neglectful about. There are many people that go into businesses, go into contracts, go into relationships without understanding what the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, and this is something that's disastrous. We have to know what Allah has commanded in everything, in every single action, and Allah has not left us without guidance. We even have guidance when you don't have a choice but between 2 haram things. This happens in existence. And we have usuli principles that protect us and guide us, but we have to have taqwa, and we have to go and ask the people that, if we don't know, we have to ask the people that know. And then he says, يُطَهِرُ الْقَلْبَ مِنَ الرِّيَاءِ وَحَسَدٍ عُجْبٍ وَكُلِّ دَاءِ. So the next thing in achieving taqwa, after the 7 limbs and after learning the sharia of Islam, is tathhirul qalb, that you purify the heart, min ar-riya. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the riya in his ummah is akhfa min namratin, the shirk is more akhfa, it's more discreet than the namratin sawda, a black ant, fi laylatin dhalma, in a dark night, ala sakhratin malsa, on a smooth rock. This is the shirk of the Prophet's ummah. It's a very subtle shirk, and it's called riya, which is showing off, yura'i an-nas, showing to people and not guarding what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded. And then, so he begins with riya because that's the foundation of all sicknesses. And then he says, وَحَسَدٍ عُجْبٍ وَكُلِّ دَاءِ. Hasad is to be envious. And this is one of the worst things. And the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الْحَسَدَ يَأْكُلَ الْحَسَنَاتِ كَمَا تَأْكُلُ النَّارِ الْحَطَبِ. That the envy will eat the good actions like fire eats the dry wood. And so hasad, وَحَاسِدِينِ ذَا hasad, seeking refuge from hasad. And hasad is when it's different from ghibta in the Arabic language. And ghibta, the hasad, the Prophet said, لَا حَسَدَ إِلَّا فِي اثْنَيْن. That hasad is called ghibta, which is where if somebody has knowledge or has memorized the Quran, You don't have hasad, but you wish that you were like him. You wish you had what he had without him losing it, or her losing it. And that's called ghibta. That's a good hasad. That's a good envy. وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسَ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. That we should compete and vie with good actions. There's nothing wrong with that. So that is a high thing. It's not a low thing. But hasad is where you're not content with Allah's decree. And it's a horrible state to be in, because Allah gave that person, and if you want him to lose that, it means you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take away what He's given, which is good for that slave. And then ujub is different from kibr, because ujub is that the mu'jab, he's impressed with himself without necessarily being muta'ali ala ahad. He might not be exalting himself over somebody else, but he's impressed with himself. You know, ما أجملني, أعوذ بالله, ما أعظمني, ما أطيبني. That type of attitude, like, oh, I'm so wonderful, and I'm so, this or that. And this is a deep sickness, ujb. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said one of the signs of the end of time is, إعجاب كل ذي رأي برأيه, where everyone who has an opinion is impressed with his opinion. That's one of the signs of the end of time, where people think their opinions are so wonderful. And so ujub is a deep sickness. And the way that ujub is uprooted from the heart is that you see who the mun'im is. If you have a gift that Allah has given you, you recognize that it's from Allah. Allah is the mun'im. Allah is the one who gave you that gift. And so you recognize that it's a gift from Allah, and just as He gave it to you, He can take it away from you. And eventually you will be, if you're beautiful, your beauty will fade. If you're intelligent, your intellect dies just like everything else. This is the nature. Even the most brilliant person, Allah can يَرُدُّهُ إِلَى أَرْضِ الْعُمَرِ. He can send him back to senility, like a baby, لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا, not knowing anything. And this happens. People, PhD, look, Ronald Reagan now. He was the President of the United States. Now he doesn't even remember who his wife is. You see, this Alzheimer's disease. You know, you can be so impressed with yourself, and Allah can literally take away everything He's given to you. And this happens. People lose their minds. They lose their memories. They lose all these things. So ujub is a deep sickness, and it has to be uprooted from the heart. وَكُلِّ دَاءِ, and then you get into many hasad, bughd, daghina. There's a whole bunch of diseases of the heart that I really don't have time to go into. And then he tells us, وَعْنَ بِأَنَّ أَصْلَ دِلْ الْفَاتِ, he gives us the source of all of these diseases. حُبُّ الرِّيَاسَةِ وَطَرْحُ الْآتِ, loving leadership. Loving leadership. Wanting to be in charge. And the Prophet said, لا نعطي هذا الأمر من طلبه ومن يحرص عليه. We don't give leadership to anyone who seeks it, or once he's obtained it, covets it. And none of us should see ourselves as everybody's expendable. Everybody. If you're the greatest wa'id or the greatest mutakallim, you are expendable in Allah's deen. Allah's deen does not need you. It doesn't need me, and it doesn't need any individual, because deen will continue and we will all die. Everybody in this room, like the Prophet said, within 100 years will be dead, and there will be new people to take this deen on. The deen does not need us. We need the deen. لا تمنوا علي إسلامكم. Don't start telling me that you've come into Islam as some gift to me. This is what the Prophet is told to tell these people. But Allah gives you the gift of Islam. You don't give Islam your gifts. Allah gave you those gifts and blessed you with Islam that you might use those gifts for Islam. And so this love of leadership is a disease. And like the Native American people, they say that the biggest problem is when you have too many chiefs and not enough braves. You have too many people want to be chief and not enough people that want to do the work. Because the chief is the one that commands and does it, but you need the people who, and now everybody says, who's he to tell me what to do? Who's he to tell me what to do? And there's fawda, anarchy. Even the family has become anarchical because there's no structure and these type of things. And then وَطَرْحُ الْآتِ is procrastination. And this really is a whole dars in itself. The idea of procrastination, it's one of the things that fascinates me more than anything else. Why we procrastinate. Why, given what we know, we put off the akhirah. كلا بل تحبون العاجلة تحبون العاجلة وتذرون الآخرة. You put off, you love this ajila, that's fania, it's going, the dunya, and you put off the akhirah, and you put off what's immediate, what's really right in front of you. Al-mawtu aqrabu ila al-abdi min shiraki na'lihi. Death is